think the environment has to be changed.
What we're saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bigoted about pigeons. I'm fine with that.
What's wrong with Singaporeans?
I want to move into another area now, and this is the area of the child or the person with special needs themselves. What is it like? Now we have 4 parents here. We have June, who has a daughter, and we have Ian, who himself has got special needs, although it doesn't quite look like it. We have Bervin here, who has a Down syndrome child, and we have Denise. So tell us, what is it like for the child? What does the child face? If, let's say, they didn't have sympathetic parents, you know.
Well, my daughter, who I'm proud to say has a master's degree in applied child psychology, still struggles to read stuff if she doesn't know what the subject matter is.
How did she get through?
She's exceedingly bright, and she worked very hard, and she had a mother who was on the school's case every 5 minutes, and a lot of teachers who worked very closely with me and were very accommodating and very understanding and basically did as I asked them to do. So my daughter was able to succeed. But many of the children with the kind of disability that Susie has are extremely bright. And if you can just make those little modifications, then...
But if they're not bright, because not all of them are bright.
If they're not bright...
What do they feel? What are they subjected to?
What Susie describes is something called she calls it frightened rabbit syndrome. And she would sit in the classroom before we got all of this sorted out and we understood what was happening to her. Teacher would ask her a question and she would just sit there. And there is no thought process, there's no processing, there's nothing happening. Because she can't find the words to give the answer and the brain just seizes up. So I imagine...
she freezes.
She freezes. And I work with another little boy currently who has failed and failed and failed. Oh, major big time failure in school. He's had 5 years of schooling and achieved zippity-doo-dah basically. He was terrified. He just was afraid of everything. And as we've worked with him, and it hasn't taken many months, and his reading has started to come in and he's beginning to achieve, but we've had to take him out of the school because that's just where he goes and he fails and he's confused and he's frightened and he doesn't understand, and you know, the whole deal just switches his brain off, you know.
Lack of self-esteem, fear. How
Yeah.
does it feel? Can you share with us, Ian, how does it feel personally?
What I am doing and what I've achieved, I personally feel that I've achieved quite a fair bit in life. Is I think my parents tend to look at things very differently. So first of all, my parents were ready to go against the norm, meaning that they brought me up just like any other kid in the house.
How many
And,
siblings do you have?
I have one younger sister, but we live in an extended family home. We live with my grandparents or my cousins, and I did not walk until I turned 7. Alright, but I was cycling when I was 2.5 on a tricycle. So I think the whole idea thing is I move differently. So instead of using my legs, I use a tricycle. I think that was a big impression on me, and it's not I because of my gait, riding a tricycle wasn't easy. I remember my parents had to tie because my foot came on dropping out from the pedals because I have low tone, so that, but they actually tie, you know, ingenious method, like
Innovation.
yeah, innovative method, and
Thinking
quite
sideways.
just using a cloth bandage and tie my leg to the pedals, and once I get. And I got my fair share of stares when I.
How did you feel?
I got treated differently.
How so?
By classmates, by teachers. So some were extremely kind, some were extremely cruel.
In what sense?
In what sense? I remember one incident was quite funny because I talk hell a lot. I mean, it's quite obvious. And so the teacher tend to shut me up quite a lot of times.
Did
And,
the teacher understand your condition?
The teacher understood. The teacher understood and say, oh, the teacher was saying, just because you are different does not mean that I will show you special preference. So I was just thinking, what the hell is she talking about? Did I ask for any
I'm not
special?
different.
Did I ask for any special preference? I did not ask. So from a very young age, I learned. I grew up pretty fast, knowing that people come in all sorts of shapes and sizes.
Yeah, do you not feel it gives you a certain strength that perhaps other people don't get?
I think what
struggle
is it, because from a very young age, my parents has inbuilt to me, you're no other different from any other child.
Okay.
So your parents play a major role.
My parents play a major
Yeah.
role,
That's
and
important, that's
at a very young
important
age,
part,
very young age, I was brought into the shopping center, just like any other kid. My parents was not ashamed.
Can I ask what your parents do for a living?
My parents is just like any other salaried worker. I mean,
They're not teachers or anything.
they're not teachers. Thank goodness they're not teachers. no offense to teachers.
We have some wonderful teachers here.
We're sitting next to one.
I think
There are several teachers.
I think
One sitting next to
every parent needs a teacher. And
Agreed.
are you willing
Agreed.
to go against the social norm?
Can I
This is-
segue into maybe a concluding area?
Yeah.
But before that, Bervin, you want to say anything about your Down syndrome child, and how about you, Denise?
Well, Matthew is a happy camper. He's, I mean, I see how children react to him. I see how people just, he has this gait as well, and I think
And he doesn't care.
I don't think he really minds. People kind of like walk in this direction and then they just go like that and they continue, but he just goes on and
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's happy.
And how about you, Denise, your child?
My son is not mild. His connection is fine, intact, but he's not mild. He's moderate, and he is not very expressive in his language. So he's in our family by no accident. We have never tried to hide him. I think I'm not as good as Yen's parent, but at least we try not to hide him. We let him take. We're not ashamed of him. We let him take part in all the activities that we go to, but we accept him as he is, and
That's
we know
the
that there will be
important
some
word.
people who will be kind to him, and some people who had been very cruel to him. He was physically abused before, and but we just accept that, and we try to just.
How did you handle this physical abuse?
It was very painful when he was 4. He was physically beaten.
Because he was-
twice actually. One by his teacher, an enrichment teacher who didn't think he was very good at speaking. And then
Okay.
another one was he was playing with somebody's dog, and the dog owner just slammed
Pushed
him
him
on the
away.
floor. And we all learn in a very painful way that there'll be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life.
Do you think he can live an independent life when the
I
parents are
think
no
he
longer
will
around?
be able to live if there's some support, but
Okay.
he wouldn't need someone to be with him 24 hours.
Okay.
And we're training him in a lot of things and life skills. So I think families have a lot to play as well. So
Totally.
I'm optimistic that he will have as good a life as he can get, and that others like him will hopefully do better.
My daughter always says that if she had had different parents, she would be a disabled child. And I find when I'm working with the individuals who come to me, the parents who are totally accepting of the child that they have and fully ready to support, to work, to love, whatever, are the ones who are successful with their child. And that
Amen.
child makes so much more progress than the poor little guys who are struggling to meet the expectations of a parent, which are totally unreasonable.
I kind of like turn it the other way around, and if I didn't have Matthew, I'll probably be a disabled parent.
Quite possibly so. Yeah.
I think we need to have courage to speak up whatever roles we play.
Yeah.
But we also need to have
Yeah.
consideration that there are the people who need support
It's
as well.
difficult.
The
It's
The widows,
difficult.
the ex-convicts, the orphans. I think there are
Yeah.
many people as well. So I think we do the best we can.
Well, I
to
think
just together
actually
build a
you're
village.
teaching and working with parents, and you're in the same situation as me. Really, you've sat in their
I'm
seat.
just a volunteer.
Well, a volunteer, but you've sat in their seat. You know the distress and the guilt that you feel when your child isn't what you think he should be.
The grief.
The grief, the anger, we've felt all of that. So
The
you
fear.
can, the fear, you can see it in the parents and you can recognize it. And sometimes because I have it and have had it, I can help those parents move past it. But the time after time, and my daughter, as I say, is now extremely successful. I still cry when I'm talking about her. And it's not because of her, it's because of all the emotion
Yes.
that
Yeah.
I had to deal with.
But-
and I'm sure you must have the same kinds of situations, you know.
It sounds more like a blessing than a problem that you've had.
Well, she certainly is.
Yeah.